warm ballroom with all of you again. How great is it to be back, you guys? All right, I'm so excited to be back doing this, especially with this show, because this show, I mean, it started when none of us could get together and talk about it, so let's bring them out so we can talk about it. Our panel today includes showrunner and executive producer Todd Helbing, Mr. Clark Kent himself, Tyler Hecklin, and the incredible Lois Lane, Bitsy Tulloch. We do need Tyler. There he is. They're new to this.
It's the first one in a long time.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the swing of it.
All right, so first of all, congratulations, you guys. The show is so good. This is your first live panel, correct? This is your first Canada.
Yes.
Well, we've done cons together
Right.
with The Voice, so that would kind of technically be the first live panel, but this is our first official.
Let's give Ryan.
Okay.
Let's give him that Wondercon screening. All right, so there's so much to talk about because so much has happened since you guys started, and none of us have gotten to do this. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. Todd, when did this actually start to formulate into a show?
Ooh. It started with Greg Berlanti first. So I was finishing, it was the 5th season of The Flash, and I was finishing, and I was going to develop for a year, and in the spring, Greg called me, and he said, hey, I think I'm getting the rights to Superman, would you want to do it? And I was like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, 5 years on The Flash was a lot of work, so I was like, I think I just need a break, but it's Greg Berlanti, who's going to say no to Greg Berlanti? So we started talking, and a couple months later, we figured out that it was going to be a family show, and then came up with the take, and I had dinner with these two and pitched them the idea, and it was sort of off and running.
So this was after they had already been introduced into the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys had done.
So he got stuck with us,
Yeah, right. Pre-existing
is
condition.
what he's trying to say.
Because the thing was when Tyler was announced as Superman for that second season premiere of Supergirl, it was almost like, well, of course he's playing Superman. Like, he is clearly
I don't think everybody thought that.
genetically designed to play Superman. And then as soon as you appeared in Supergirl, everyone was like, there's got to be a Superman show. They've got to do a Superman show. They've got to do a Superman show. And then they kept stringing us along by bringing Superman, and then Lois comes in. And you start to see that there's the possibility of, yes, we can see this couple as leading a series.
Yeah, well, like Greg and everybody that was, Greg was really, he brought in Tyler, and I remember, I wasn't a part of you at all, but I remember watching your audition and instantly being like, oh my God, that's Lois for sure, like instantly. So I think I was like the first one. I was so excited. Like,
Yeah, and normally because the Arrowverse shows had gotten to that point where there were parts of the fandom that were saying like, okay, enough with the spin-offs, enough with the spin-offs, and then you two show up and you're like, okay, just one more. But for the two of you, first of all, Tyler, when you first suited up as Clark and Superman for Supergirl, did you think that would be a possibility, or were you like, okay, a one-off?
No, not at all. It was, my original contract was just for 2 episodes. So that was the discussion the whole time. And then after those first 2 episodes, there was another conversation with Greg about would you want to come back for 2 more? That was, yeah, sure, it's fun, might as well. And then with the crossovers, as far as I knew, there was a discussion that was the last time that I was ever gonna play the character. So it wasn't like an intentional stringing people along and keeping things kind of hush hush. These are things that really just kind of continued to develop as things went along. So yeah, my intention was always there was going to be a couple episodes, it'd be fun, and that was it.
And by the time that Bitsy, you joined in, you've done several of the episodes, so you knew what that Arrowverse experience was like.
Yeah.
What was it like for you when you first showed up and was like, okay, all these people are in costumes?
Well, one thing that I don't know if everybody knows is that we didn't read together, and so I was freaked out the first day I was actually going to film with him because I was like, what if he sucks? That's gonna suck. This is like such an iconic couple, and I really hope I like this guy. I had met him really briefly at an Emmy party a couple weeks prior, and I just like went up to him and I was like, "You're my Superman."
I remember that.
But it was just like instant chemistry. We got along so well. It was so easy to work with, and we work very similarly. But I was very pregnant. And I was very pregnant when I auditioned, and I remember the first thing I did when I left the audition room was unbutton my jeans to let my stomach out, because I was like trying to shove it in. So by the time I actually got up to Vancouver to film, I was like 6.5 months pregnant. But it was fun. It was just cool. It's just one of these things I always kind of have to pinch myself when I'm on any set, where it's like, it's so magical. And you never want to lose sight of how grateful you are to be able to work as an artist. And you're just in these, you're just, oh, of course there's Superman, of course that's the Flash, of course there's Supergirl. Like, it makes, sure,
Right.
It
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, Tyler, for you, when you first suited up, and we talked about this before, but like, how much pressure was that? Because in your mind, you were getting one chance to do this,
Yeah, I hate answering this because I don't know how to answer it without sounding kind of ridiculous. But for some weird reason, and I think it was just because of the meeting that I had with Greg Berlanti before we did it, I had an experience of auditioning for Man of Steel, and I remember as an actor, it was the audition that it clicked with me that you go into the room and you do what you think this is, and you commit to that, and then that way, if you don't get the job, well, you miss taking your own shot. But it's better to miss that way than to go in and do something like, well, my take is this, but I think they want this. So you try to be what they want, and then you don't get it anyway. So then you didn't even really take your own stab at it. So my meeting with Greg, we were just very, very particular and detailed about what we thought about the character, who he was, and kind of what he represented. So Greg instilled a lot of confidence in me in that meeting by, giving me the job to do what I thought the character was. And so I just committed to that. So for some weird reason, I don't know why, I know I should have felt a ton of pressure in that situation, but with this one, it was strangely one of the least pressure-filled roles that I jumped into. I don't know why, and I'm not saying that to sound any particular way. It's just really how it was. And maybe because it was like 2 episodes, and so it's like, yeah, we'll take a big stab at this, and if people love it, great, and if they don't, sorry. That's really all you can do. Like, you can't make everyone happy anyway, so you kind of just have to take your shot at it, and that's all you can do.
Were you ever concerned at that point where like, okay, let me see the suit first?
I was curious.
Because the suit, it's unforgiving.
Yeah, indeed.
There's no business to craft services when you're
No, not a ton. No, she gets to enjoy the food at work a little more than I do.
Well, Bitsy, for you also, like, because Lois is just an icon, and on so many levels. Like just yesterday, I was saying something about how it's like Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, and Lois Lane were two of like the greatest, most influential female characters in comics, and this woman has like inspired so many people to go into journalism. Like, she's been played by so many cool people. For you, what was your read on taking on this character?
You mean like when I got the audition?
Yeah.
The audition size was a cut scene from Superman 2, and it read on paper as the one where Lois shoots him, and it read as a very serious scene. And I've only ever seen the Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder Superman, and it had been a while, but I just remember Lois feeling like I had a lot in common with her, and she's sassy, and she's cheeky, and she's incredibly smart and driven, and I approached the audition as like, oh, I'm gonna have fun with this, and I'm gonna tease him, and I don't know that anyone else had sort of read it the same way I saw it, and I remember Jessica Queller was like, when I did the scene, she was like, oh, so I assume you like that, But yeah, it's like you said, and I know it's not so much pressure that we feel because these roles are so iconic. It's more that we have a tremendous amount of respect for them, and we want to show the fans that we respect these characters, but we also have to make it our own. That's why we both have avoided watching any other iteration than the ones we had seen very briefly. because we want to make it our own. But like Lois is a total badass. I feel so lucky that I get to play her.
Yeah. And also, now we're getting to see, yeah, you can clap. We're also going to see her as a mom.
Yeah.
And that's very rare. And also, like, when the show first started, like, they're struggling as parents. No, Clark is struggling as a parent. Seems like Lois has it on lock, because she knows how, like, the fact that the kids know if they have to talk to mom, they're in trouble. But so, Todd, you then basically inherit these two, which is the greatest, because when you get to work with these two, you just get to build a world out from them. When you started to look at it as a family story, was it always the idea to have them with twins?
No, originally it was a boy and a girl. And, but I have two sons, so we had a lot of meetings, Greg and I. And I just came in one day and I'm like, I think it should be two boys, and this is the reason why. And he was like, I don't know, let me think about it. And then he was like, yeah, of course. And then I pitched him, you know, like the switch in the pilot where you think that Jordan is not going to be the one that gets the powers, and he does, and he really does that. So yeah, it just, once we started talking about this show as a family show, it really opened up what we thought it could be.
And why, at that point, decide to set it in Smallville rather than keep them in Metropolis?
Well, I think it's just, there were a lot of reasons. Metropolis has just been done a lot, you know, it's just always, we wanted to, first, if we're going to do this, we wanted to put our own stamp on it. I think just the idea of having Superman and Lois go back to a small town and operate out of there, and coming out of Metropolis, and how crazy a city like that is, raising kids. Again, it's like, I constantly try to draw from anything I can. So living in LA is a little crazy, raising kids here. And so sometimes, I wrote this whole pitch, this whole like one-page opening pitch, and part of it was, I came from a smaller town. Now that I moved to LA, and it took a while to get accustomed to living here, and married my wife, and we have two kids, and we talk about a lot, wouldn't it be sometimes easier to go back to this small town and raise kids? But I don't know if that really does make it easier, it's just different, so.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't been easier for the kids. I will tell you that.
Definitely is not
There's
easier.
definitely been more problems.
Yeah.
By the way, I just also need to point out that on your IMDb page, this is my favorite little factoid, you started off working on Melrose Place at 90210.
Yep. 90210 was the first, I was a PA in 90210.
And you wrote an episode of Smallville.
Yeah, that was it's very ironic, that was my first professional script.
Okay.
Was, Hero, season 7, Hero.
Wow. So, have you ever been tempted, because, you know, Warner Brothers, they love a, you know, crossover, ever tempted to even just use something from the original Smallville series as a reality in this film?
No. No, I you know, again, it's, Superman has been around for a long time. There have been a lot of stories, a lot of iterations, but I think for all of us, I don't want to speak for you guys, but it's just, if we're going to do this, we really wanted to make our own version of it. And it's nothing against any other shows, and you know, I think Smallville was awesome. And I think every Man of Steel, all of them are fantastic. But with something that has existed for this long, it's like you kind of have to make your own version of it.
And the emotional depth that this story gets to bring on a weekly basis really helps it stand out. Because, and I was thinking about this on my flight here, it was like, how fun it would be to edit, have your team edit an episode down to where it's just a family drama. Remove all of the superhero stuff and just have it air and like, watch it as a family drama. And you realize that there's two shows going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we probably could, and maybe we'll challenge ourselves to do that in one episode in the future. No, but it's a tricky balance, you know. We want to obviously satisfy the Superman fans and get some heroics, but it should function more as a family show, this version.
Did you have a template for it? Like, because you've worked in TV for so long, there have been some incredible family dramas along the way.
Yeah, I think the first time I met with you guys, I pitched you, it was Friday Night Lights with Superman. And I love that show. I think what Pete Berg and Jason Katims did and everybody was amazing. So it just felt like a good template, a good analog for us.
And visually, I want to get back to the emotional stuff, but visually, I mean, I think we can all agree that this show looks like no other superhero show on TV. It is gorgeous. Like, I don't know what, I mean, because Vancouver has been used so much that, like, we all know. We, like, when someone's running around Vancouver, you're like, that's nothing. Yeah. But this, I mean, this straight up feels like we're in Kansas. Visually, the lighting, everything that you've accomplished with it is just staggering. And the cinematic action sequences, I mean, I can only imagine what the budget people are thinking at the end of every episode.
Yeah, well, all of us are thinking the same thing.
Our VFX team, Matt Orr and all of them have just done an incredibly tremendous job. And you can see the love that they had for the show in their work. And I'm very proud of them. They're really talented.
Yeah, it's funny. In every prep meeting that we have, because every episode there's this sort of sigh at the end of these meetings of like, how are we going to do this? Or like, hey, it's Superman, you know? And it's like everybody sort of jokes about it, but I think that there's something that everybody has brought to this project because Superman has done so much for us that, you know, we feel like we have to do for everybody else.
And that's been very evident in our interviews with the other cast members, your showrunner, your executive producers, the kids who are just like, oh my God, these kids.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these kids, because I mean, when you're kids, teenagers on TV shows can suck. Like, because you know, you watch them like, oh, I hate that one. These kids are great. Like, I love them, I root for them, and I'm not somebody who likes teen kids on shows. So I really want the best for them, and I'm super, super worried about them right now. What was casting them like? Because you have to find kids that are basically, would be their children.
Yeah, I think it was difficult and easy at the same time. I think that like it's probably always like that, where you're looking for very specific kids with specific qualities. But it's like the second the right person comes in, you're like, of course, that's who it should be. And I think Jordan Elsas and Alex Garfield.
And we did chemistry reads with them, which was really great. Like that it meant a lot to the studio and the network. I'd flown in, I think you were maybe already in LA, but it was important to them that there was good chemistry among the four of us. Yeah.
And I love the idea of these two incredible heroes, both of them, having kids, one of them who really needed some extra love. You know, like Alex's performance, especially in season 1, where he's really struggling to find out who he is and all these problems and feeling like he's othered. I love that because we never really got to see Clark go through that, but we saw how he understood it. So you've placed these kids, and I love the switch. And also we were backstage watching that clip, and we're like, oh, and this was the other switch where we all thought it was Doomsday and Bizarro. I'm like, this is the Superman and Lois thing. Like, they lead us to think it's one thing and then it's not. The kids now, you have in season 2, and this is my favorite thing about season 2 on any show, is you get to widen the scope. You get to broaden the stories, you tell us who they are in the first season, and in season 2 you really get to dig in. And Tyler has been playing 3 characters for the first half of this season. So if you'll notice, he was kind of on a break this week's episode. Because you look and you're like, it's Bizarro, it's Clark, it's Superman. And then it's like Superman hiding behind these Clark, all these things. How do you make sure that you don't burn him out? Because also, by the way, he's hanging from wires like half a week.
Yeah, no, this guy never complains, ever. So, we wanted to give him a break. I know, like, being in that suit is a full-time job, just walking around all day. So, I don't know how he does it. You'd have to ask him. I do not know how you do that.
Yeah, how heavy is the suit?
How heavy? It's not that heavy. It's not that heavy. There are technical aspects about it that make it very boring. I'm not going to get into it. But no, it's honestly, man, I grew up playing sports. I had great coaches that instilled the, when you're tired, you keep going kind of thing. I'm very lucky to do what I do. I'm blessed to play the character I get to play. The character means so much to so many people. And as Busy says, we really have a huge amount of respect for that and the responsibility that comes with that. And so, I was the guy in the dugout. I like getting the team off the bench and into the game, and I like to rally. I like to get things going and keep things moving. So it's honestly more in my nature to be doing more as opposed to, sometimes you're on a set and you'll work a little bit and then you take a break and you work a little bit. That for me, honestly, is more taxing. I like to just kind of go. And so I'm lucky that I'm in this position that I get to, use that side of me for whatever reason. I grew up with the parents I did and the coaches I did that it suits me. So I enjoy it.
Sounds awesome, man. It is, yeah. You can also knock out. It's just, you're the perfect choice for this role. And you see, I knew you from Grant. And yeah. But what you're bringing this time, and Todd, you guys have had a really interesting, kind of hand in mythology and canon stuff being a little tweaked. The backstory that we're getting with Lois this season, and the absolute heartbreak that she's been living with, with the mother and the fallout with Lucy and all of this, we've never seen this side of her before. And what you're bringing is absolutely heartbreaking. The therapy sequences, these are not things we see on superhero shows. How has that been for you to really get a character who's been drawn so much and get to add new shades from her?
It's been wonderful. I think even just having this added complexity and depth of being a mom has allowed me to really delve in so deeply, and I'm grateful for that. When I first read the script for episode 8, season 1, where Lois is talking about having had a late-term miscarriage, I know I haven't had to go through anything like that myself, but I have so many friends who have, women and their partners by proxy, and it's been so difficult for them. And I just remember it was a lot of emotion to sustain throughout the entire episode, and to really try to stay in it, and it was exhausting. And I just remember thinking right before I walked onto the stage to film the therapy sequences, do it for them, to honor that struggle and that grieving process. So it's great. We have wonderful writers on our show, and they write me really well, and then I always sort of feel like then it's my job to then really make it real and live.
And then next week's episode, the next episode, which I believe is April 26th.
April 26th.
All right.
That is the Bizarro World episode.
Bizarro World, yeah. Bizarro's in Bizarro World.
You guys are gonna freak out.
Okay, so right, I'm hearing this huge.
You have no idea the scale of this episode.
So, all right, I'm thinking that you get to do some very cool stuff.
I always get to do cool
Yes.
stuff. Yeah, but to me, it felt like last season, episode 11, which was our backstory episode, was like a love letter to the fans. And to me this year, it's episode 10, because it's just like, you guys want something really cool? Here you go. Yeah.
Nice. And that is and you said it wasn't scheduled, it wasn't originally planned that you would have this break between.
No, Busy, you tweeted or
I did,
Instagram or,
on Twitter.
On Twitter.
Where one tweets.
It's just we're still filming in a pandemic. Last year obviously was extraordinarily difficult, and this year there's a lot of the same protocols and challenges and a lot of unexpected shutdowns.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. When people were so upset when they saw it was another break, and I was like, should I keep my mouth shut? And I was like, nope.
That sounds about right.
So Lois.
I just said I really appreciate why people are so frustrated, but this is an ongoing pandemic, and there have been unexpected COVID-related shutdowns that nobody wants, nobody's happy about, but we're trying to make a show, and it is a pandemic, and we're just doing the best we can, and we appreciate your understanding.
Yeah, the other option is we would still be sitting at home
We're going to go to audience questions in a little bit, so if you guys want to start lining up, I do want to say, in Expanding the World, we got more of the Lana stuff this season, and I I can imagine you guys are so happy that Lana Lang was not positioned as like the love triangle spoiler for the marriage. Like,
I think it was something Todd and I had talked about when you're talking about Friday Night Lights with the show. I loved too, and so I was excited to do it. You know, Coach and Tammy Taylor, their marriage was so strong, and that they were attracted to each other, and it was sexy, and they fought, but like they were a unit, they were a team, and that's kind of what we were like. I mean, this is, you can't have this iconic of a couple and then necessarily have either one of them have like a wandering eye.
and also, and it gives Lana a different agency. It gives her an entirely different story to play, and that's been lovely. Because Emmanuel has just been like, didn't see it coming, and then she's got her heartbreak. Now she's the mayor, which I'm so glad because now I have an inside woman. All right, so I think there's a microphone stand somewhere. Oh, it's trying to left. Oh my God, all the way back there.
Hi guys, my name is Mike. My son, I'm a big Superman fan, and my son's middle name is Kal-El. That's how big. Tyler, you're the everyday Superman, every weekly Superman that I get to enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I was just wondering, it's a funny thing, since you're the 5 o'clock shadow Superman, how do you get that shave going on, or do you ever?
So here was the, there's a couple things that went into this. A, I'm not as old as we are playing Clark to be. And so when we first started shooting, I was like, the idea of me showing up clean shaven with these two 15-year-old boys, I was like, guys, I just don't think it's gonna work. And so I got a bit of a baby face when it's clean shaven. So that was part of it. The other thing, honestly, was I did want the sense of him being a father, and you know, we play with this thing at the very beginning of there's so little time in the day to do what he needs to get done to be everywhere. It just felt like him being freshly clean shaven every day. For me, I just didn't love the idea of that, and I'm very grateful that Todd was on board and that Lee, our director, was on board as well. Because also my face clean shaven every day for however many months we shoot. I would have been a problem for makeup. It would have been miserable for everybody. So I got it that he's got his heat vision set on a just slightly lower level. So he kind of singes it, but it's not like a clean cut. Also, I just think that Lois likes it better that way. That's another one. Like Lois likes the show.
Hello everyone, I'm Nico, aka Oswald Cobblepot at the Penguin in the Victorian era from San Diego. It's an honor meeting you all. Got a two-part question for the cast of Superman and Lois and the city screenwriters. How long will Clark Kent be stuck in the reverse world? And when are we gonna see Jonathan Kent, your son, wearing his Superboy uniform?
I'm there forever. I'm not coming back. That was my last episode.
He's in Bizarre World for one episode. As far as John Kent, that's TBD. We're not sure.
All right. Okay. And by the way, I do need to point out, and kudos to you guys. The styling on Alex in that episode was straight up Superman Earth 1. With the hoodie and the jacket and everything, I was like, oh, they're definitely doing their research.
Yeah.
No? Okay, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valentina. First, I want to say I want to thank you guys because the past 10 years, I've had to defend Superman against so many Batman fans in your show, and it's helped with the And with that, my question is, Superman's been around for 80 years, and I like that you're bringing characters that have not been really used before. What are the characters that you'd like to bring in, heroes or villains or regular people, into the near future?
I mean, there's kind of like two parts for this answer. The first is, you know, Supergirl used a lot of the really classical villains. So we kind of like to do ones that maybe haven't been as used before and reinvent them in a cool way. And a lot of that comes from the staff of writers I have. they're really knowledgeable about Superman, like walking encyclopedias. So Adam, yeah. Adam is, I don't know if anyone has met Adam, I know he's here. He can answer any questions a lot better than I can. But, so, yeah, it's just...
there he is. That's one of our writers. That's awesome.
Right.
So we got all your spoilers.
So yeah, I mean, we'll just do deep dives. That's what we really want to do.
Hi, my name is Eileen. First, I want to say congratulations on an absolutely beautiful version of these characters. Seeing them as these heroes and brilliant women, but also brilliant parents, is absolutely exciting and thrilling to see on TV. My question is for Todd. As the mother of a 15-year-old with an anxiety disorder, watching Jordan struggle has been amazing for both myself and my child to witness. And I wondered, as Jordan grows in his powers and responsibilities, will we see more of the exploration of this teen dealing with an anxiety disorder as well?
Yeah, I think that there was, we dealt with it a lot more in season 1 and season 2, and part of that is he got something that he could latch onto and feel confident about, and that helped him. But I think maybe as his powers start to develop and he uses them more, that may come to the forefront a little bit. So yeah, I would expect to see more of it in the future.
Thanks. That's awesome.
Oh yeah!
Oh my God, it's finally the crossover episode!
With the USC mask, right?
You look like Melissa.
Thank you.
You look great.
Thank you. Oh man, actually, ironically enough, my name's Kyla, and I'm attending the screenwriting program at USC. So I am so stoked to be learning about all this. I've actually grown up with Superman in terms of like Smallville, and I mean, obviously. But I was just wondering, because Smallville has like the no tights mandate, and you never really got to see him as Superman. Does Superman and Lois have any of those types of things where you're like, all right, we are not going there no matter how long the show goes?
No, I think that just our main rule is to try to ground it as much as we can and tell grounded stories, family stories. So that's really our only mantra.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good luck with the program.
Hi, my name is Danny, and like everyone else, I want to compliment you on an amazingly well-rounded show. I think it's our favorite show, not in the superhero genre, just of all the shows that we watch right now. So thank you, all three of you. My question is primarily like it is because it's got this mix of drama, but also there's so much good humor and laughs. And my question is, what's either the funniest or the most fun moment that you guys have had on set while filming?
Way too many to count. I know which one you're thinking of. The funniest moments just on set have been laughing at her laughing. There are a few things that Busy Tullet cannot handle. Hiccups and funny names are two of them. So we typically just laugh at each other a lot. Those are like the funniest moments on set. I would say the most fun moments that I've had to play in the show so far, anytime we get to do like a kind of classic Clark Kent-ism, I love it. So in season 1, it was the carrying the water jug and embarrassing my son with the whole coach gave me a jacket and I got a hat. That was really fun, and then playing the whole water's heavy with my son, that was really cool. And then the other one this year was the when Jonathan punches Clark in the football fight, and there's a brief moment of I've got to act like I felt that, and then going to the ground. And any of those things for me, they're just so fun to play because we don't get to play him as much as we would if he was in Metropolis, where he's still kind of playing up that character. It really only works at the high school because everybody in town knows Clark. So those are always really fun.
I love for him. It was during the pilot, and I want to give a shout out to our pilot and our second episode of first season, Lee Tolan Krieger, and our DP, Gavin Struthers, who was nominated for an ASC award for the second episode of season 1. He's incredible, and he really helped set the look of the feel, you know, shooting white. What's the look of the feel? That's not, you know what I mean. But, so in the pilot episode, I love the meet cute, when he's like, such like this dorky smitten Clark, and then he's like, I've never met a Lois. Oh, this is my teacher, it's Hannigan, my third grade teacher. That's always been my favorite, and every time he was done with it, I'm like, oh my god, it's so cute.
I have to follow up on that because you now have Ian Bowen on set, who has worked with Tyler on Teen Wolf, and he told me that his favorite thing is to take a little of the gas out of it. So he's like, you know, Tyler walks on the set, he's in the Superman uniform, it's all there. There's nothing you can do but make fun of him. So, Missy, has it been nice having like an ally on set?
We've always made fun of each other. It's just constant teasing. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even pick a moment. It was a great question about we're always laughing, we're always having fun. Sometimes we have to rein it in and be like, okay, this is a serious scene. Stop laughing. Will you stop laughing? But yeah, no, Ian definitely teases him. We all, yeah, it's a very happy cast, which is great.
Yes, especially this deep into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you film basically in COVID and no one else is there. Yeah. Normally, I would sick of my dog after day break. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Josh. I just want to thank you for one of the best iterations of these characters that we've ever seen in the last few decades.
Thank you.
My question is for everybody. What do you find about these characters to be the most iconic relationship of all of comics history?
I think what I love about our version of it is I love the story that we told that it was Clark that Lois was into, and that it wasn't the traditional she's into Superman but doesn't really kind of notice Clark. And kind of going off of what Bitsy said before, I just think there's this mutual respect for each other. There's an enormous amount of love for each other, but there's a huge amount of respect for each other and what they stand for. That I think is just a really incredible thing to see. And like Bitsy said, I'm glad that we focus on that we keep that very strong in our version of this relationship.
Yeah. And I love how protective they are of each other.
Go ahead. Oh.
Wow. Hi, my name is Chase, and I'm dressed today as Lord Zedd from Power Rangers. So,
wow.
Very nice. My question then pertains to the episode that was directed by Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Power Ranger. Did she bring anything to the table that she learned from Power Rangers that she wanted to apply to the show?
I don't know, she was so fun to work with, really just jumping out of the director's chair, running to us, really positive, a ton of energy. The one thing she did differently from the other directors that we're not quite used to is that she would film in a sequence. So we would do the scene, and then she would say reset, and we would keep filming as opposed to cutting, then having an official reset. And that was, we all thought that was kind of cool. Also, it sort of expedited the process a bit. In the shortest days on her episode. Big fans. Yeah, no, she was great.
I was a huge Power Rangers fan. My parents had like the action figures like stuffed away in the garage, and my brother and I would climb over things trying to find them because they were like tucked away for special occasions, and we just wanted them now. So it was really cool having her there, and she did a great job. I think anytime you work with somebody who's been on that side of the camera doing, the action stuff and everything, there's a shorthand in the communication. So it was nice to see, her on the other side of the lens and so excited about what she was doing. It's something that I think we can all kind of identify with. So it was a lot of fun.
Hi, my name is Ariel, and we kind of got Lois's reaction to Jordan essentially becoming, or kind of getting his powers and using his powers for good. But of course, Clark wasn't there, so I wanted to ask, can we get any hints of how Clark's going to react to, essentially Jordan coming into his own as a Superboy?
That's a good question.
I imagine there'll be any kind of thing. Again, I'm not a parent, but I try to draw as much from my parents' experience and talking with people, but I think there's simultaneously going to be that excited feeling for him, that he is starting to realize who he is and his potential, but also that fear that comes with letting your child go out into the world a little less protected. So I think there's going to be equal parts reservation and wanting him to be as prepared as possible, but feeling like he's seeing his son grow up and maybe not being able to be there to always protect him as he's going to be getting into more and more dangerous situations. So I would say it's equal parts of fear and excitement at the same time.
And also, how is he going to respond when he finds out how he's been behaving since you've been gone? Because what he said to Lois this week was not okay. No, when he was like, when I'm the one with powers now, so I was like, oh no, that does not fly here. No pun intended.
I imagine Clark won't take too well to that comment.
And what about John? What can you tell us about what's going on with John before we go? Like, because again, he's the king of bad decisions.
I don't know if he's the king of bad decisions. I would just say that he's a kid who...
he's a teenager.
He's a teenager, and he's surrounded by 3 extraordinary people, and he's just trying to find his way. And he made a couple bad decisions, but I think, you know, deep down, he's an unbelievably good kid who just wants to do good things. So I'm sure he'll rebound.
Did anyone else after this week's episode, did you get a strange feeling that there might be some tragedy in his future? Anyone?
No one?
Nobody?
Keep watching.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Erin. I was wondering, also I love your show, like it's like so good. But I was wondering, for Lois, what do you think makes the bond of like her character with every other character on set like so strong? Yeah.
I think that Lois is incredibly empathic and compassionate, and she cares so much about other people, and I think that's really part of why she's sort of involved in everybody's storylines to an extent, is if she can, you know, she's very loyal, she's very protective, she's the mama bear. So I think it would be that, and I was just doing some press and they were saying like, what's the worst thing about her? And it is that she is uncompromising, and she has a hard time admitting when she's wrong. So I think sometimes it's probably hard for her to take a step back and not involve herself so much, because she's the kind of woman who thinks she has all the answers and can fix everything.
All right, it just came up on the screen to say that was the last question. So unfortunately, I do have to wrap this. But since none of you asked, I'm going to. Tyler just met Casey from Naomi backstage, and we know that Naomi is a huge Superman fan. Has there been any discussion of some sort of meeting, anything on the show? I mean,
No, again, just because of the pandemic, it's hard to have those conversations. You know, I think it's just hard to get anybody on our set, and just anybody to visit the set. So it's
None of our family members have been to set yet. So.
all right. And any chance of like at least Clark getting like a text from Cara?
She's right here.
Yeah, she's right there. Yeah. All I'll say is, I think, look, everybody has this question like, why hasn't, you know, why aren't we bringing up Supergirl or Flash or any of the other heroes? And aside from us not being able to do crossovers and wanting to put our own stamp on this property, I'll just say that at the end of this season, you'll get the answer to the questions that you guys have.
All right. Okay. So